In this video, Neville Goddard explains the connection between the law of assumption and the positron, the positive running electron, and how it actually lines up with Einstein's theory mathematically that we can change the past or rewrite the future with our imaginations, that by going forward in our minds into the future and making the state real in our imagination, we can alter our future as we like. So let's go ahead and jump right into Neville Goddard's lecture. However, I couldn't find the recording of this lecture, so I'm going to read the transcription myself out of Immortal Man. It was 1949. I was in Milwaukee and gave a series of lectures on the Bible. A man who was the head of the chemical department attended my lectures. One evening, this man said, "Neville, I can't quite go along with you because, as a chemist, it is in conflict with my training. You tell me that you can go, or we can go forward in time, that you can move backwards in time, and that all things are and everything is now, this very moment. Yet you are telling me you can make things change, and it is in conflict with my training. We have a law known as entropy. Entropy means that the past is fixed and unalterable. You cannot change it. If the past can be changed, it throws everything out of kilter in my lab. I must know that the past is unalterable, like braiding a lady's hair. The braided part, that's fixed. The rest is future, not yet braided. We are waiting to see how it will develop from the braided part because that is completely fixed and unalterable. Now you tell me it is not, that the whole vast world exists now, past, present, and future, that you can go into sections of time in a world that is finished. Well, I can't go along with that." Here's Neville. "It's perfectly all right. I am not a chemist. I am not a scientist, so I can't argue the point. I only know my visions, and I teach vision, as I have experienced it. I can go into these places, and the past has not passed away. I am quite sure one could go back and revise that past and change it. I know I can go forward into the future, set it up, and walk across a bridge of incident to the point in time where I entered that state, and it takes on the color, the tone, and the reality I assumed it to be." In the month of November, he sent me the science newsletter dated October 15th, which contained an article about the positron, written by Richard Feynman, professor of physics at Cornell University, which Feynman won the Nobel Prize for that discovery 20 years later. And if I can quote it, this is it. "The positron is a wrong way electron. It is wrong way in every sense of the word. It means it moves backwards in time. It moves to where it hasn't been and speeds to where it was an instant ago. Arriving there, it is bounced so hard, its time sense is reversed, and it moves back to where it hasn't been." Now, that is not Neville speaking. That is Professor Feynman. And for that, he got the Nobel Prize last year. He said, it is not only backwards in that sense, but even its charge is backwards. It's a positron. It's positive and not negative, yet it's an electron. But then they first had this theory. They did not want to admit it, but it fitted in with Einstein's theory mathematically. So they had to accept it. But no one had ever photographed it. Then someone came who photographed it in their studies of the cosmic rays. It seemed as though two were developed at a certain point, but it wasn't. The one coming back was the positron and should, if bounced, be deflected and continue on its deflected course. On the other hand, if it is bounced so hard it is not deflected, it reversed and moves forward in a normal manner to where it hasn't been yet. Okay, so I want to stop for a second and explain this positron a little bit better for you guys so you can understand it a little bit better where they're going at with this. The positron is basically when you go into your imagination, when you create a scene so real in your mind in the future as if it's now, and you create all the vivid scenes, you bring all of your senses into this scene, and it becomes so vividly real to you that it is real to you. That's when you shock the time sense. That's when you activate this positron, which Richard Feynman won the Nobel Prize on, and it lined up with Albert Einstein's theory mathematically, that it worked, that this actually works, that you can go into your imagination and create the scene so real. And when you have done it, you've gone into the scene and made it 3D to you. You've created a three-dimensional world inside your imagination, so real. And then you come back, when you come back from your future event that you've created now, when you come back, it's a shock to you because it was so real. And you've come back now, that's when you've activated the positron, and you're going to be led to that incident that you created. That imaginal act that you created in your mind, you're going to go to that. All right, guys, let's go back into the lecture here. This is where Neville is explaining how he activates the positron, what he does in his imagination, step by step. Okay, so I had told him I could sit at home and go into a section of time. For instance, this is now April. I put myself in December, and I see the stores all dressed up for Christmas. I hear the music of Christmas, all the carols. I walk through Saks Fifth Avenue in New York City and feel all I would feel if it were true that this is the month of Christmas. Then, when I feel it is Christmas, I feel that things are as I desired them to be back in the month of April. Then, I open my eyes and bounce back and shock myself because it seemed so real to me that when I came back and opened my eyes upon April, I thought I was kidding myself. No, I wasn't kidding myself, for when I went forward in time quite normally, waiting out the days, the months to the month of December, things happened as I had assumed they would when I went forward and predetermined what would happen. Look at it this way. See the whole vast world as infinite states, and you an immortal being. You enter a state, and the state becomes alive. Therefore, you are not to blame if you unwittingly enter a horrible state. But man, not knowing you are in a state, condemns you. But you must express the contents of the state to which you are committed. If you enter the state of poverty, you have to experience poverty. If you go into any state and remain there, you are going to drink it to the very last drop. But you can get out of a state. You don't have to remain in it if you know it is a state. If you don't know it, you identify yourself with the state and you think you are in it. Man has identified himself with this little body and thinks he is it. The day will come when he has to discard it because he has worn it out. As he discards his body, all of his friends will think he has died. He didn't die, for he can't die. He is an immortal being who just wore out the garment of flesh and blood. That same being goes into a state and remains in it. He resurrects it, for the I am the resurrection and the life of that state. All right, everyone, that is the end of this segment. This transcription was out of Immortal Man. Justified States is the chapter or the lecture that was noted in Immortal Man. If you guys want me to continue to read these transcriptions of these lectures that I can't find the audio for, let me know in the comment box below and give me a like on this video to let me know, and I will continue. All right, guys, I love you guys very much, and I will see you guys tomorrow.